the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
And coming up on the news at noon, thousands still without power after a fire at a Prince George's County substation. How crews are working to get people out of the dark. And later, getting a makeover. The groundbreaking happening right now in Northeast DC's Dave Thomas Circle.
And the early morning thunder and lightning and heavy rain, well, that's moved out of here, and it's being replaced by some sunshine outside. We'll talk about the rest of the afternoon's high temperatures and what to expect for tomorrow, because we could have another round of active weather coming up.
All right, thank you, Scott. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Mark Hall. Developing now. A teenager is dead and 4 other people seriously hurt after a crash in Burke, Virginia. It happened last night on Burke Center Parkway around 9. Fairfax County Police say that a driver hit a car with 4 teenagers inside. Investigators say that they were leaving the parking lot of a nearby shopping center. Police believe the driver who hit them was speeding. They're hoping that the surveillance cameras in the area will help them further investigate the crash. Well, as summer heats up, the city of Phoenix, Arizona saw record high temperatures this week. Temps in the Midwest city got as high as 116 degrees yesterday afternoon. And that comes after the city saw temperatures reach at least 110 degrees every day for the past 19 days. Officials say that the extreme temperatures are due to high pressure air trapping heat over the city. Let's take a live look outside in our region. The DMV isn't seeing those kind of temperatures, but we're obviously dealing with our own warm front in the area. Meteorologist Scott Sumner is in for Damon Matson this afternoon. Obviously, Scott, we don't have to worry about those temperatures, but again, we're in DC and we have to deal with our own weather.
That's right. We have to deal with the humidity. They do not. Yeah, well, granted, 110, 115, that is scorching hot. But I got to tell you, I've been out in Vegas and I know those type of temperatures exist, and it really, yeah, it's hot. But you get underneath some shade, it's okay. Here, with the humidity, doesn't matter. If you're in the sun or you're under a tree, it's still muggy out there and you feel it. All right, temperature-wise, 81 degrees, partly cloudy skies. We got light winds out there. See this number, the dew point temperature? We keep referring to it because it is humid out there. It feels uncomfortable. You really can't go for a long walk or a long run or jog, it seems, because you know, unless you're really super fit, and I'm not, you feel it out there. All right. As far as our humidity, again, you can see the dew point temperatures across the area. They're into the 70s here, although a little improvement out towards the I-81 corridor and the Allegheny Front region, the Shenandoah Valley. But still, those numbers, middle and upper 60s. It still feels humid out there. Now, this is what I'm talking about. There are those early morning rains and thunder and lightning moving through the area and dropping a good amount of rain here. And now those continue to push out to the Atlantic Ocean away from our region. So we're getting a bit of a reprieve here. But you can see here over the last 24 hours, we picked up along and just north of I-66 around the Centerville area, 1.8 inches worth of rain around the district, about 3/4 of an inch of rain. And south of the district and around Waldorf, about 1.33 inches, so, or close to that mark. And here's some other rain totals across the board here. Again, some areas didn't see much, other areas picked up a good amount of rain, but that's typical for this type of weather pattern. And as we go throughout the next couple of days here, we're looking at tonight some early storms and a muggy feeling on Thursday.
All right, Scott, thank you. We're checking in on Prince George's County this afternoon. Over 2,000 people are still without power. And this comes after a fire broke out at a substation in the county last night. At the highest point, the county had close to 15,000 outages. PECO tells us that crews are working to find ways to reroute power from other areas. There's no timeline for that. Well, in our schools, the Virginia Department of Education is releasing new guidance on the treatment of transgender and non-binary students. Governor Glenn Youngkin's model policies have been under review for months now, and as our Max Marcello reports, not much has changed, even after the governor received tens of thousands of public comments. His office says that they have received tens of thousands of public comments, but right now the governor is not commenting on those. Here's what Max
Governor
found.
Glenn Youngkin and his latest transgender student model policies are back under the spotlight. If adopted by school districts, teachers and school staff must only use the name and pronouns on a student's official record unless a parent submits a document showing a legal name or gender change. Also, students must use the bathrooms that correspond with the sex they were assigned at birth, as long as federal law allows. And single-user bathrooms should be made available to everyone with appropriate signage. Plus, no teacher can conceal information about a student's gender from their parent.
These are policies that are certainly needed and go a long ways in making sure we protect fundamental rights for all students and for teachers as well as for parents.
Todd Gackey with the conservative advocacy group Family Foundation of Virginia says this promotes parents' rights. Governor Youngkin says the policies reaffirm my administration's continued commitment to ensure that every parent is involved in conversations regarding their child's education, upbringing, and care. But in a statement, LGBTQ+ advocacy group Equality Virginia says Governor Youngkin's response is to escalate a culture war and drop a policy that harms kids, removes resources for teachers, and ignores the rights of parents in Virginia.
That was our Max Marcilla reporting, and there's no deadline for when school districts have to adopt this policy. Right now, some Northern Virginia school districts are reacting to the new policy. In a statement to DC News Now, Arlington Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Francisco Duran says that I oppose any policy that infringes upon the rights of our students and threatens the safety and well-being of our LGBTQIA+ students. Fairfax County Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Michelle Reed says that FCPS remains committed to an inclusive learning environment for each and every student and staff member, including those who are transgender or gender expansive. Well, police say that they're still looking for a dark sedan in connection to that shooting in Southeast D.C. that left 4 people hurt on Monday night. Meantime, people living in the neighborhood say that police need to take more steps to curb gun violence.
Maybe if the mayor implemented back the curfew for the teens, 9 o'clock, the kids won't be out here. And if they legit had a time and had maybe, the police circle and keep them off the block, then maybe we can clear up some crime.
Police are asking anyone with information about the shooting or the SUV to give them a call. Well, D.C.'s new acting police chief is preparing to tackle rising crime in the nation's capital, and community members are hopeful that she will be able to do something about it. And we talked to some D.C. residents about the increase in crime. That includes Christine Warren L., who lives near Minnesota Avenue. She says that she was almost shot last year. Her former neighbor, Deborah Wilkins Bay, lived in the area for 10 years until the violence drove her out.
I was in the house one day on a day like today, and all of the children were outside, my children and several of the neighbors' children, and all of us, and gunshots rung out. It was definitely the final straw.
She needs to put more police officers in this area because this area has been this way for a very long time.
Yeah, neighbors hope the new chief makes community policing a top priority. Happening now, D.C.'s mayor is kicking off the transformation of Dave Thomas Circle, a $41 million infrastructure project, and that's the intersection of Florida and New York Avenues in Northeast. The area will be redone to improve safety and transportation access. The project will create 3 new green spaces and add new traffic pattern. The public will also have a chance to help name those spaces. Just go online to namethisnomaspace.org. You have until August 25th to vote. Well, a new bill in Montgomery County is capping annual rent increases. The county council passed the rent stabilization bill yesterday. The bill aims to limit annual rent increases to the consumer price index plus 3%. Now, it has a maximum of 6% increase from the base rent each year. Council passed the bill with a 7-4 vote.
This piece of legislation that will not only keep myself housed, but will also keep a lot of working class families, immigrant communities, our undocumented community, and even our younger generation.
There is a lot of room here for improvement. We look forward to this, but it is revolutionary from where we came from 15 years ago.
The bill could go into effect by April 2024. Well, new this afternoon, some of the top rental companies are vowing to stop hiding fees in their websites. ZillowApartments.com and AffordableHousing.com are falling in line with President Biden's commitment to end junk fees. The company says that all fees, including application fees and convenience fees, will now be clearly displayed. Stretching your dollar this afternoon, a new report shows that almost half of U.S. tenants don't have renter's insurance. And if you don't, you could end up paying in the event of a disaster. Consumer reporter Ben Dennis explains a few best practices for protecting your belongings.
It's not just the weather that can upend people's lives, it's crime too. And given severe storm damage that can happen year-round and even the chance of theft, we looked into options for consumers, whether they rent and own. Here are some images of damage done in the district last week. Trees on homes, cars as well, and families forced out because of the aftermath. All of this underlies the importance insurance can be for major losses. And good news, consumers don't need to spend much money every month to recover any of those major losses. SafeHome.org, which promises to give insight and research into the matter, says 55% of U.S. renters have rental insurance, and landlords require 3/4 of them to be covered. The average monthly payment, $18 a month. NerdWallet is out with the best renter insurance companies for July. Among their picks, Amica for customer service. Country Financial, they say best to work with an agent. And for Mid-Atlantic renters, Erie Insurance, their pick. Farmers, they say best for lots of discounts. And NerdWallet finally says State Farm is #1 for their long list of coverage options.
Request a review. So it's great to have an agent, a local office that's able to say, hey, these are the things that we look out for locally, because there are a lot of options out there. But as you can imagine, in our area, earthquake is not really opted into very often. It's happened. Having a local ear and eye that watches out for you makes the biggest difference. So you put your money where it actually would be of use.
What about flood insurance? That's typically separate from sewage. Well, the feds say that most homeowners insurance doesn't include flooding coverage. But for that, head to floodsmart.gov, federal website, the National Center for Flood Insurance. And yeah, for renters, landlords likely have this coverage, but consider the coverage to apply to your own personal belongings. Ben Dennis, DC News Now.